Hi, and welcome to International Business Relations. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get right into um, our chapter. So, chapter one, the nature of intercultural communication. So, a couple things I wanted to point out to you. So, we traditionally think of products when we think of international business, but we need to expand that to the trade of services, direct investment, the trade of knowledge, and recognize that we today trade a lot more than just products. Um, so, who participates in international business? We have multinational enterprises. Those are the typical ones we think about with the large conglomerates and multi um, national and global corporations. But with the internet today, small and mid-sized businesses are just as able to compete on an international scale and find themselves neck to neck competing with companies around the world. There are other companies that are simply born global from day one. They are a conglomerate that's spread around the globe. And we have a significant amount of non-governmental organizations that go around the world doing good and helping the less fortunate. And those are also part of that international trade. So in the dimensions of international trade, we need to think of a lot of different aspects. So typically we think about the international trade that goes on. Second to that, we think about investments when a company invests overseas. Then we have international business risks that need to be taken into account. We have the variety of facilitators and intermediaries and governments that get involved in the firm, in the corporation, in that exchange part of business. We have foreign market entry strategies. So depending on how in depth we want to be involved in the process. And then we have the globalization of markets. So 6 different dimensions that we must be aware of. An example of what's happened in the world is Facebook. It's a global phenomenon and it's not alone. So Facebook, one of every 3.5 people, roughly 2.6 billion people have a Facebook account. Some 90% of Facebook users live outside of the United States and they speak over 101 languages. If Facebook were a country, it would be the largest country in the world. As far as GDP, gross national product, it is third, I believe, if I'm correct, third largest GDP in the world. So the point that I want to make with this is that there are a lot of corporations that are much larger than a lot of the nations that they deal in, and it gives them a lot of unfair power that needs to be managed. So culture is the focus of this class and the focus of what we will be talking about here and how business interacts with culture. So we have verbal and nonverbal codes that express our language, but also express our culture. Languages are created by physical and psychological aspects. On the physical side, we have human behavior and environment, natural and man-made environment. On the psychological side, we have the processes, so how we encode and decode thought. We also have content, so the knowledge and the belief systems. And it's it's appropriate that in the center of this diagram we have that content, because this is the part that is the most difficult for companies or or people to understand when they do business with other countries. Um, if we start by looking at U.S. business culture, there are certain stereotypes, and the reason why um, many of you come to the U.S. to go to do your MBA is so that you can learn how businesses in America think, and eventually go back to your country and be able to better negotiate and deal with companies in the US. So the stereotypes of the US business culture, US business people are informal in their relationships, but they have a formal attitude. They are workaholics, and they go into overdrive when they are trying to negotiate an international contract. They're traveling, they've got things to get done, they are on it, and that can be problematic. They are not opposed to rolling up their sleeves and doing manual work, and that can be embarrassing to others who are more stratified in what the roles people play. They are very concerned with time, money, and appointments and getting the job done fast. And some of you can already see how that's problematic. Decisions are based on fact, not on relationship or emotions. Contracts and written word are what matters, not the relationship, not what is said. In fact, they will spout off and say all sorts of things that eventually, if it's not on paper, doesn't mean anything. They believe in the status differences in a corporation, but they also believe in being mobile and being able to move around from company to company or up and down in a corporation. And they tend to convey a U.S. superiority when dealing with business overseas. So you can see how this cultural mindset can be problematic when we are when we're facing other cultures. So the cultural iceberg, we tend to be able to see the things above, right? So our dress, the ethnicity of the people around us, the environment, the behaviors, the different languages, the different religions, all of that is very visible, and we like to celebrate it and we like to talk about it. But when it comes down to the things that we don't see that are under the surface, those are a lot more, they go deeper, and they're more difficult for the casual observer to understand. So if we talk about the right side there are rules and networks and values and subcultures and subgroups that may not be visible. But then there's the nonverbal. We may not even catch a nonverbal if it's not part of our culture. We may not even be aware that someone is upset or someone has shifted. There's perceptions and norms and stereotypes and business philosophy that we need to carefully learn and carefully observe. In the close of 2019, these were the top leading export countries in the world. China, followed by the United States and Germany, kind of close together there. The Netherlands and Japan, very close, followed by France, Republic of Korea, Hong Kong, China, Italy, United Kingdom, and Mexico. And those are fairly close in size as well. If you were to look at geographic location of the 500 largest multinational enterprises, the United States does take the lead with 128 multinational enterprises, followed by China And then we have fairly close in size, Germany, and then United Kingdom, France, and Japan. And then we have other smaller ones that you can see here. And yet very significant, right? But this covers your top countries. So we have Russia, Netherlands, Belgium, Switzerland, Italy, Spain, Brazil, Australia, India, Taiwan, and South Korea. When we compare domestic and global mindsets, a domestic mindset, usually someone who is not well versed in other cultures and travel. They're more of a functional expert. They prioritize their work and their world, their environment. They're very structured. They take individual responsibility very seriously. They don't want any surprises, and they train against having surprises. A global mindset looks at a bigger, broader picture. They want to balance the contradictions in the work environment and in the cultures. They're looking at process, teamwork, and diversity. They're looking for change opportunities, and they're very open to surprises. Now, I need to look this up in the book because I tend to not always get these right. Okay, so an ethnocentric management style, okay? The firm is located in one country and all its cells are in the same country. It uses the same practices and it does not take into account cultural differences in the workforce. All workers are treated the same. And when they do have a subsidiary overseas, their managers tend to be exported. So the leadership in that country is also going to be from the same parent company, and all of the treatment of employees is going to be the same. In a polycentric management style, they consider the culture of the country in which the firm is located. So if you're in Australia, you do business like Australians. If you're in India, you do business as Indians, okay? And the people in charge consider the cultural needs of the workers in that area, in that firm. Regiocentric management considers the region rather than the country where the firm is located. So they're going to look at Europe and treat all of Europe the same. They may think of Asia as one big area, or Central and South America, North America, okay? And they will conduct their practices that way. And finally, geocentric management. You have a common framework across all countries, but there's enough freedom in each location to meet the needs of the local people. In addition, the leadership of the company is multinational. So you promote people based on their skills and their abilities, and you move them around the world based on where they are needed, not based on country of origin. And finally, in closing, 10 commandments for going international. If you're going to do business internationally, be well prepared. Study about the culture of where you're visiting. Ask a lot of questions. Talk to people who have been there. Be observant. Be a good listener. Make an effort to adjust to where you are going and where you are a guest. When problems arise, assume that the problem is miscommunication and that you need to clarify and you guys need to work together. Be patient with each other. Assume the best about people. Be sincere. Maintain a sense of humor. Make an effort to be likable and smile. So that wraps up chapter 1, and I look forward to discussing this with you further.